If you're designing a new kitchen, then understanding your kitchen triangle and the concept of work zones is crucial. In this video, we'll be going over the 5 essential work zones you need to consider, as well as minimum benchtop requirements, circulation, and a lot more. So stay tuned. Hi everyone! If you're thinking of building or renovating, then this is the place to be. I am Nikki, CEO and founder of Totally Wicked Group, and welcome to our monthly Totally Wicked Live. We pre-record these videos, but we do have people online live right now to answer any questions you might have. So, let's get started. What is the kitchen work triangle? Well, it is a concept that has been around since the 1940s, and it effectively takes your sink, your refrigerator, and your stove and creates an imaginary line in between them, thereby creating a triangle. When designing your kitchen layout, these 3 areas are the most used typically, and the distance between them is really, really important. So if each line of your triangle or each edge of your triangle is between 1200mm and 2700mm, then that is a really good start. Because if it's too close together, it's not really functional, especially for more than one person. And if it's too far away, you have to move further away and could potentially, trip over the cat or the dog or a small child or something like that. So it becomes more cumbersome. Now, as this concept was developed in the 1940s, it didn't take into account a lot of things that kitchens are used for today, like all of our appliances, or perhaps homework, or serving, entertaining. A lot of designers are actually steering away from the kitchen triangle, but I do think that it is a very good place to start when you're designing a kitchen and then incorporate some more design elements into it later. The other alternative to kitchen work triangles are work zones. Now, work zones think less about the items within your space and more about what you're actually doing in that space and what you need to do those tasks. A well-designed kitchen with efficient work zones can make your daily routine easier, faster, and more enjoyable. And by creating distinct areas for distinct tasks, you can typically minimize traffic congestion, especially first thing in the morning when everybody's trying to get to school or to work all at the same time, and reduce clutter, making the most of your available space. There are 5 main work zones, the first of which is the food preparation and cleaning zone. So the food preparation zone is where you'll spend most of your time chopping, slicing, dicing ingredients. Ideally, this zone should be located near the sink, the dishwasher, bins, and areas where you store things like your chopping boards, knives, serving plates, and things like that. You will also need a lot of clear, uninterrupted space with some really good lighting, because you have a knife in your hand and you're likely chopping lots of things up. It is also worthwhile thinking about a PowerPoint if you are using some of those chopping appliances or food processors and things like that. The second zone is the cooking zone, and it is typically where you'll be using your stove and oven to prepare your meals. This zone should be located near a ventilation system and a countertop for placing hot pots and pans. This area could also include plug-in appliances like electric fry pans, woks, air fryers, multifunction cooking stations, whatever they're called. And also think about your cabinets that house all your pots, pans, cooking utensils, heat-proof mats, and oven mitts or ouch gloves. If you're finding this video helpful, please give us a thumbs up so we can spread this Australian content to more Aussies. The next zone is the serving zone. This will be where you're plating up and presenting your meals. This zone should be located near the cooking zone and the dining area, so you can easily transfer food from the stove to the table. Typically, the food preparation zone and the serving zone can be overlapped or even the same place. An island bench is really, really good for that, especially if you want multiple people in that space at the same time. This gives more room for them to not trip over each other. You could also consider incorporating outdoor serving spaces by installing fully openable windows that let you serve food and drink to your guests without having to walk backwards and forwards through the doors to the kitchen. Next is the eating and living zone. This is where you'll be enjoying your meals and spending time with your family and friends. This zone should be located near the serving zone and cooking zone so you can easily access food and drinks. Again, an island bench or breakfast bar are excellent for this. Just keep in mind the space requirements for preparing, serving and eating, and make sure that they can all be done at the same time. Otherwise, you will all be working on top of each other. I would also stay away from high breakfast bars and island benches. They used to be all the rage, but I find that they just section off the areas of the kitchen that need to be the most adaptable. The last zone is the appliance zone. This is where you'll be storing and using all of your kitchen appliances that are used regularly, like your microwave, coffee machine, toaster, kettle, anything that is frequently used, but only for about 5 minutes at a time. As such, this zone doesn't really need to be prioritized as much as preparation or cooking zones, where you'll be spending more of your time. The appliance zone is best located near the food preparation zone, making cleanup easier. And due to its usage, you can make this zone within cupboards or in corners of the kitchen to free up space for other more important areas. This is a huge benefit for smaller kitchens where space is limited. I would also allow space within this zone for charging of devices such as speakers, phones, tablets. If you have a shelf or cord organizer or charging stations, then this will also help you keep things tidy and easier to clean. Now the question is, which is better for designing your kitchen? The kitchen work triangle or work zones? My argument is a little bit of both. So I suggest you look at the zones that are important to you and design a triangle that links them together. For example, if you love entertaining, then serving zone, cooking zone, and preparation zone are likely to be more important to you. If you plan to eat lots of meals in your kitchen, like breakfasts or lunches, then serving, preparation, eating, and living zones are more important. If you live in a multi-generational household and lots of people cook communally at the same time, then having appliances and eating zones further away from preparation and cooking zones would allow more people access to the kitchen at the same time. So really what it comes down to is prioritizing what is the most important to you and working out the flow and then fitting everything else in as you go. Regardless of which option or combination of options you choose, the minimum requirements for circulation spaces would be very similar in most situations. If you have a small kitchen space, then 800mm minimum is required between cabinets. Be aware though, this is not for thoroughfare. Most kitchens for 2 people to pass one another, you need at least 1200mm between the bench tops. But if you want to better future-proof your kitchen, then the Livable Housing Design Guidelines will give you some of the best information for this. If you wanted the gold standard, then allow 1200mm in front of all benches, bench tops, and appliances. If you wanted to go for the higher platinum standard, then allow 1550 minimum in front of benches and appliances. So you've worked out which zones are important and you started to locate your appliances. Now you need to allocate the appropriate benchtop space on either side of these appliances so you can use them to your best advantage. The first rule I will give you is this: if you have a U-shaped or L-shaped kitchen, then any appliance, be it your fridge, microwave, dishwasher or sink, needs to be at least 300mm, ideally 500mm, away from any corner. This allows for the opening of doors so they don't clash, as well as additional space on your bench for items that you will be taking out of those appliances. More specifically, for items like your fridge or your oven, allow 400 minimum on each side or a separate bench top within 1200 ml reach. In terms of microwaves and other smaller cooking appliances, then you can get away with 300 ml on one side or a separate bench top within 1200 ml reach of those items. For your sink and dishwasher, they really should be within arm's reach of each other. Not only is this more functional and you're less likely to have spills, it's also more cost effective because you are grouping your services together. In terms of bench space, you really do need a meter on one side at least. This could incorporate some sink drainage, but it is really important to have that area where you can take items out of your dishwasher and out of your sink and into the dishwasher. So just a note, I have had some instances where clients requested dishwashers being raised so they are above bench height, and this works really well for accessibility and keeping them away from kids and pets and things. Just be aware of the selection of dishwasher that you have to make sure it does not void your warranty by doing this, and make sure your cabinet maker knows so that they can build the structure to support the weight of the dishwasher and it being full and working. Now for a preparation and serving area for your bench tops, bigger is usually better, but I typically say 900 wide for one person to prepare and minimum 1500 wide for two people. Just a reminder, you can overlap some of these work zones with serving zones like I mentioned before. So it all depends on how much space you have and which is your priority. Now the final thing I want to do tonight is just talk about some of the basic layouts that you will see everywhere, the pros and cons for each. Now I usually don't recommend linear or galley style kitchens simply because they're not that great for maneuverability and their kitchen triangle is pretty rubbish unless you use them with island benches. But they can be great if you are limited on space or if it's a secondary kitchen, like say a granny flat where only one person might be using it, or a butler's kitchen that is secondary to your main kitchen or where you might be preparing things. The key is though, these two layouts really need to be somewhere where the thoroughfare or the circulation is minimal. So great for a granny flat with one person, but not so great if it's near a main hall where lots of people are walking past. Now L-shaped, U-shaped or linear kitchens with either a breakfast bar peninsula or an island bench are the most common layouts we see these days. This is because they are the most versatile and the most open. Gone are the days of the kitchen being a dirty coal-fired back of house room that's out of the way. It is most definitely more integrated into indoor, outdoor living and being more of a center of the house. So the more open you have your kitchen, the more functional it's going to be and more beautiful it's going to be. I would have to say my particular favorite is a linear kitchen with a big island bench, like a double width island bench with cupboards either side. I feel like this is the best layout in terms of not having awkward corner cupboards, but having a big multi-purpose space where you can really change your storage to suit whichever style you want to go with, and you can have multiple zones in that space in the middle. I will say though, I hardly ever put a sink in an island bench unless I absolutely have to, because I feel like that just makes the whole place a lot messier and a lot less efficient. Designing a functional and efficient kitchen requires careful planning and consideration of various factors. Whether you use your kitchen triangle, work zones, or a combination of all, be aware of your circulation requirements, benchtop spaces, and the overall layout that you can actually fit into your home, especially if you're doing a renovation. Continuing on with this kitchen theme, next month we will be discussing kitchen styles and how to choose the best for you and your family. So what are you waiting for? Start planning your dream kitchen today and let us know in the comments which tip you found helpful and if you have any questions. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. I am Nikki, CEO and founder of Totally Wicked Group, and I hope you have a totally wicked evening.